take a closer look at what Bain and Co, that global management consultancy, were implicated for in the state capture report. I'm joined now by investigative journalist Pauli van Wyk. Pauli, thank you so much for joining us. So it relates to SARS, consultancy work they did for SARS during the Tom Moyane era. What did the state capture report, because there was lots of submissions around what went on at SARS, what did the state capture report say Bain was culpable of, or at least should be investigated for?
Well, in essence, it was very clear that Bain came into SARS, that they colluded to start off with the president, former President Jacob Zuma, colluded with Tom Moyane, the head of SARS, and then colluded with Jonas Makwakwa, along with Mr. Moyane. And the end of it was that SARS' systems and processes were changed. Its investigative capacity was decimated. Bain knew before anyone else in the country, before cabinet ministers even, that Tom Moyane would be appointed in his position at SARS. He knew because he colluded with President Jacob Zuma, and it was very clear from submissions to the SARS Commission of Inquiry as well as to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry that there was huge problems with the way that Bain closed and opened new units. The people that they targeted to oust them from SARS, including Mr. Barry Hall, was one of the specialists in SARS, ensuring that the IT systems ran smoothly. So it was astounding that our government still didn't do anything about it, as we've heard from Peter Hain and Athol Williams just now.
So Bain are on record as saying that they believe the State Capture Commission, they put it in the following way, mischaracterized their work at SARS. They admit they made mistakes, but they say they didn't willingly or knowingly aid or abet state capture. They also say that their detailed affidavits that they submitted were basically not factored at all into the report. Do they have a good point, bearing in mind the state capture report requires further action? Could they plead innocent until proven guilty?
It's quite comical, I think, to say that their work were mischaracterized. They were state capture. They are it. They didn't take part in it. That is exactly what state capture is. It's a parallel system that was set up to break the system that's already there, that was working, that was catching the criminals, and it was aiding and abetting the people inside the government placed there, particularly by President Jacob Zuma, to divert state funds to himself, to shield himself and his friends from impunity, and to ensure that no harm befallen them. So Bain was exactly the definition of state capture, and for them that they were mischaracterized or that the affidavits haven't been taken into account is absolutely not true. Two commissions of inquiry, the SARS Commission of Inquiry as well as the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, has ensured that the affidavits were looked at, they were heard, and Mr. Vittorio Mazzoni, may I just remind everyone, actually fled the country. He fled South Africa because he didn't want to testify at the first SARS inquiry. So for him and for Bain to say that they were mischaracterized and that the affidavits weren't factored in is simply trying to realign the truth to their own reality here.
To your knowledge, does Bain and Co have any current business relationship with our government?
Not at the moment to my own knowledge, but I know that they have been continuously had a strong business relationship. And just to go back to President Jacob Zuma, that was quite the idea of getting Bain in. Bain tried to sort of root themselves in the entire South African governance system. They even had a presentation where they wanted to overhaul the ANC for the president, and the president just sort of welcomed them into the fold, and they were quite a lot of allegations of corruption and bribery, which should be looked at. Now, the problem is that that those contracts need to be seen out, which is why the Zondo Commission said that every state contract with Bain must be reviewed and cancelled, perhaps, if there's something wrong in those contracts. But also the private sector in South Africa is using Bain, and that is also something that we need to address and look at and review. Yeah. Especially if the Britons are taking it so seriously. We heard about Peter Hain saying that Britain has really strong anti-corruption laws. South Africa has those same really, really good laws. We just need to implement them. And the private sector needs to step up and join the tune.
And it's interesting that the move that Britain has taken, because we know that President Ramaphosa said, all right, I need a few months to go through this and say what I'm going to do sort of politically. We also know that the police are picking up on some of the investigations, and we have seen some action in the courts. But simply making a statement saying we will not do business with you for 3 years, whether that comes from our government, a similar sort of statement to what the UK government has made, or even within the South African business community, to say that I can't see any comeback that Bain and Company could have, because this is not. They're not saying Bain and Company is guilty before Bain and Company has been hauled to court. So do you think this is a neat way, in a way, of holding a company to account without waiting for what is often a very long court process?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a step back. What do we want to show them to be guilty of now, after 2 commissions of inquiry clearly showed the wrongdoing? Do we want the NPA and the Hawks to haul them through court and to prove them guilty of a series of corruption and bribery laws in South Africa? That is ridiculous. In South Africa, we already know that 2 commissions of inquiry made devastating findings against Bain. Based on that and against presentations by Athol Williams and Peter Hain, the Britons decided to ban for 3 years the contracts of Bain with the state. South Africa has so much more impetus to do the same, and the fact that it's not done is really questionable.
What about the rest of the state capture report and other companies, some locally based, some multinationals who've been implicated? Of course, Bain is not the only one. Do you think that that's also something our government should be looking at, and our business sector, let's face it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree on both counts. As I said, private business really needs to step up. It's very clear that business enjoy actually pointing the finger at our government, saying that it's your fault that it's very difficult to do business in South Africa, but they don't account for their own part in it. To be part of a corrupt system, you are also enhancing that corrupt system. So if you are taking part in it, you are part and parcel of the ANC's problems that they brought to our country in the democratic era. And the second point, I think, that's really important to make here is that this is what you get when a president for over a decade decimates the investigative capacity of the Hawks, the Scorpions that he closed down, and the prosecuting authority. Our president is well known, and it's been written for decades now, of how exactly he went about killing everything that could hold him to account in South Africa and circumventing the laws of our country. This is the end of what we see, that he and what he did there is the root cause. And this is what we're putting up with now is companies like McKinsey, KPMG, Bain and Company, Hogan Lovells. They came in and they realized that they're sitting in a corrupt system. They wanted to be competitive, and they ensured that they were competitive by hook or by crook. And if they had to be corrupt and bribed to do that, they did so. And the same with multinationals. We see that in Transnet, Denel, Eskom. We've seen it widespread across all our state-owned enterprises. SARS is definitely not the only one. And Bain and Company also didn't only target SARS. They were at Telkom first, then they went to SARS, and they really did plan to take over the entire government. We see the same in the mining industry with Glencore, and we by now know very well of Glencore and their chocolates, bribery and corruption. So yeah, Sally, I agree on both points. Government and business need to step up.
Thank you so much for chatting to us this evening, giving us such perspective. That was investigative journalist Pauli van Wyk.